Sue Middleton is a pork, grain and citrus producer from Wongan Hills in Western Australia. She's also coming to the end of her reign as the Australian Rural Woman of the Year. Sue Middleton was in Brisbane this week and Pip Courtney caught up with her to hear what she's learnt in the last 11 months and where women in agriculture are headed.
This rendering plant at Bow Desert on the outskirts of Brisbane seems an unlikely place to find the Rural Woman of the Year. But Sue Middleton's fascinated by waste. In particular, the potential for farmers to turn chicken, cow and pig waste into power. Her pitch for the Rural Woman of the Year award was all about making better use of piggery effluent.
My project is to investigate how we can commercialise biogas facilities for the piggery industry, and that really means taking the waste, which is the pig slurry, and capturing the methane that's produced from the slurry and turning that into electricity.
The biogas facility attached to this rendering operation produces enough methane to provide a third of the plant's electricity.
I thought that was a pretty exciting project. 1.1 megawatts of electricity that they're producing, and they're being able to use an enormous amount of waste coming out of that rendering business, and that's a pretty exciting opportunity. They hadn't gone to the next step, which is to potentially even use the organic fertiliser you could use at the back of that, but already at the scale that they're doing it, they want to invest more in it, so clearly it's working as a commercial opportunity.
Sue Middleton's project started with piggeries, but it's broadened its scope.
What I think I'm going to come back with is the opportunity to be able to bring together intensive animal industries into precincts. That scale then makes it commercially viable as well. I think being able to group together the waste and byproducts and then be able to use those to generate power at a regional level is probably what I'm starting to see is the real opportunity in Australia.
Being the Rural Woman of the Year has given Sue Middleton the chance to pick the brains of a host of agribusiness and political leaders, as well as some of the country's best farmers. They tell her there's been a significant erosion of profitability in the last decade, and farming's now a far riskier enterprise than 30 years ago. In a chat with her about her year, she told me this will make for some big challenges for Australia's agriculture ministers.
What issues in rural Australia do you think need addressing by state and federal governments?
Look, I think we're probably in a pretty exciting time in terms of we've had a change of governments in a number of different areas in Australia. We've got a new Ag Minister and we've got an opportunity right now, I think, to define a policy response for what I call the 40%, which is what I'm saying is the middle of the market. Top 20% are doing quite well in farming, getting 10 to 15% returns. We've got a 40% part of the market that is really living on off-farm income, so in a sense, you know, lifestyle farmers, I guess you would say. But the middle part of the market, who are largely family farms, are really wanting to stay in farming and try and understand how they can, I guess, emulate the top 20% in many ways. And those guys are really starting to, I guess, try and find ways to be able to tap into that research and development and new technology that's enabling the top 20% with their scale to really, you know, deliver those great returns. So that's a real challenge for us in agriculture at the moment. Obviously, everyone knows about the R&D and the Productivity Commission report that's been fairly challenging for many people in terms of understanding how are we going to maintain our investment in R&D in agriculture, but also making sure we get enough investment in extension, and so that middle part of the market is actually going to be able to get the same access to information and knowledge.
You sit on the review panel for the drought pilot being trialled in WA. Is this pilot something rural Australia just had to have?
Yeah, look, I think that it's an incredibly important time in redefining what drought means in Australia, and that's what the drought pilot has offered. Many farmers across Australia will all say we need a different response to climate change or climate variability than exceptional circumstances. And it, you know, almost drives a thinking of its own, which in, you know, many regions people acknowledge that exceptional circumstances actually can add to the emotional stress and the impact of drought rather than helping. So this is really about the drought pilot is saying, can we prepare farmers for any event or any run of bad events and get a farming enterprise to the point where it's got the resilience and that risk management capacity to be able to cope with any anything in terms of market or weather volatility. And it puts drought into a box of being one of a set of risks that a farmer manages. And it actually is aiming to reframe drought. Now, from my perspective as a person who has lived and worked in rural Australia all of her life, I think that would be one of the most exciting things, to be able to really crack that one and say, yes, we've been able to take drought out of our language and we've found a way to deal with the highs and the lows.
Australia's had a Rural Woman of the Year award for 18 years now. What do you think the value of this award has been?
What I found was the network of women was just the most extraordinary gift in your life, because you go, you meet 14 other women, you do a course together in Canberra for a week. One of you gets this crown and, you're off doing this really busy year, meeting all these amazing people, but it's that network that really matters. And there's an alumni there in behind the awards that you probably don't see, but there's 170 women already. Another 14 women come in each year, and we use that network to collaborate and support each other and help to make sure that across industries we're learning from each other and can use that kind of passion and, I guess, resilience and kind of the courage that rural women demonstrate. We can use that from each other and lean on that. And I guess then that, really from my perspective, the award's got a year and you do a lot of things during that year, but what really matters is that network that's left behind.
Do we still need this award?
Yeah, look, from my perspective, I can't see this award being anything but an ongoing and growing prestigious award, because the opportunity to profile women positively in agriculture is making a really big difference. Certainly in my time involved in rural communities and agriculture, I've almost seen the farm wife tag disappear. Women have been, pretty much acknowledged as being equal partners in farming businesses, and that's really exciting. We have 50% of all agriculture courses currently involved in them are women. So that group of people are going to be coming through into the industry, and they'll be able to see women ahead of them who have really kind of struck out in their industries and said, I'm going to play a leadership role and I want to really make a difference in my industry, and they'll know they can because the awards are there and the awards are putting women and giving women, I guess, the empowerment to go in and say, hey, I want to make a difference in my industry. And that will be a profound investment over the long run. So we need to do another 20 years of it at least before we've even got to the point where we can say our work here is done.
Surely equality's broken out everywhere. We don't need it anymore.
I see a dramatic change in my 20 years in terms of just being accepted as just another person and accepted on merit. And that's certainly changed during my time and my career. But I think we still have further to go. When you look at the top leadership agricultural boards, the top positions in agriculture, there's still only 8% of those positions held by women. I think we've all accepted that women are equal partners in farming businesses, but the next level is to have women participating at that higher level leadership. And I think every industry body needs to say, what am I going to do to make sure that I can do something about my 3% that women that I've got here, or my 12% or my 15%, It's really about saying we've got an existing foundation here, let's work on it and let's set targets ourselves that we're all happy with. And maybe it's 25% for some industries because that represents women's participation, but it certainly needs to at least mirror what is women's contribution in that industry.
What have you personally got out of this?
I think that I have become a much better leader in the last year. So whereas before I was really looking at my community and my industries and playing a role, I've now realised I've got a bigger role to play at a different stage, almost in a sense. And I'm understanding that I can also play that role of inspiring other women without feeling that, who am I to, be the person who thinks they can model possibility for a young rural woman. I now accept that I can do that.
Do you have a message for young women who might be considering a career in agriculture?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a very simple message. It's have a go. I know myself, and I talk to other women who are in leadership positions, that every woman experiences self-doubt. And every woman has a moment where she goes, oh, crikeys, I just don't know whether I have the skills and abilities to get there. But just push through that feeling, because if you push through that feeling, on the other side of that, after you've achieved whatever the outcome is a real sense of personal power. So just keep continuing to have a go, put yourself out there, create partnerships, look for other women to mentor you, just look for the support and the help that's out there, because there's an extraordinary number of both women and men in rural Australia who are just so keen to see young people enter agriculture. So go for it. We're there. We're waiting for you.
Sue Middleton, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Pip.